Hi, my name is Nick Kalyani, and in this video, I'll introduce you to the HyperCrunch Druid toolkit for .NET Nuke. I'll give you a brief overview of Druid, then we'll work on installing it, and finally we'll look at some basic configuration aspects of Druid. So let's get started. The best place to start with Druid is the Druid website, which is at druid.hypercrunch.com. And on this website, you will find a ton of information about Druid, including documentation, videos, and as you probably noticed, there's a feedback button here, which you can click to get more information and connect with the Druid community. So what I'm going to do is start by going ahead and giving you an overview of the capabilities of Druid. So Druid is really two things. There's first and foremost a rule engine, and then there is a mobile app engine. The rule engine is designed to allow you to control the visual aspects of .NET Nuke using a hierarchical system of rules. The mobile app engine is really targeted towards developers, and what it does is enable you to develop mobile applications using the full power of the .NET Nuke framework along with the MVC pattern and Razor scripting language. So let's see how the rule engine controls the dynamic appearance of .NET Nuke pages. The way it works is that there is a hierarchy of rules that you define, and we'll be experiencing the syntax and the actual format of those rules in a little bit here. But essentially, these rules are processed by the rule engine to ultimately determine if a rule matches a given request for a .NET Nuke page or not. And if the request does match, then there are several things that the rule engine can do. Among them are it can dynamically change the skin or the container of the page. It can also inject one or more style sheets and one or more JavaScript files into the page. So with these four things, it's possible to really impact what the end user is seeing on the page. Ultimately, these things control the visual experience of the user. But in addition to these aspects, the rule engine can also do much more. For example, based on the rule enumeration, it can redirect the user to a different page. Now keep in mind that the rules here are not simply about what request criteria are there in the URL. There are many capabilities that the rule engine is capable of processing, including things such as the type of device, the date, the browser type, role membership, and there are many other custom criteria also that you can specify. So in addition to the appearance and the redirection, the last and most important aspect of the rule engine is the fact that it can provide dynamic page content. So what the rule engine is capable of doing is rendering content to the page after .NET Nuke has finished processing it. In other words, the rule engine looks at the page not as a series of modules, skin objects, and content pieces, but as a complete HTML page, and it can programmatically make any change you desire to that page. In keeping with that, in that same vein of changing the content dynamically, the last thing that the rule engine can also do is facilitate the creation of mobile apps. Now that's really where the mobile app engine comes into play. So we won't focus much in this video on that particular topic, but there are other videos that will cover the mobile app engine aspects of Druid. Ultimately, when you put all of this together, it's almost like magic. You can do things on your .NET Nuke website that were never before possible, or if they were possible, it would have required kludges or having a variety of skin objects, etc. What Druid does, specifically the Druid rule engine does, is give you a central point of command and control for the end user experience. So that's really what it's all about. Now, in order to get started, what you'll want to do is download Druid, and the best way to do it is to click on a download link, and they're all over the website. And this will take you to the Druid project on Codeplex. It's druid.codeplex.com, and you can see the release packages that are there. So there are three release packages. There is the core Druid install, there is a mobile install package, And then there is a sample module that illustrates how you can do mobile app development. For this video, we're going to focus on the core HyperCrunch Druid install, and you want to download that and go ahead and install it. So I've already downloaded it. What I'm going to do is switch here to my .NET Nuke portal. So this is a clean .NET Nuke portal that I have created, and I've just added a couple of pages there just to illustrate some of the capabilities of .NET Nuke. Let's make sure everyone can see the URL bar there, so you can see my URLs as I type them in. So what I'm going to start off by doing is install the Druid extension. So we go to extensions, and this is not unlike any other extension that you would install in .NET Nuke. You would go to the extensions page while logged in as host, and you would launch the install extension wizard, and my file is right here. So that's the file we install. Click on next, and you go to the wizard, answer the license question, accept that, and go on, and pretty soon you're done. So when you are done with this installation, one thing you'll notice is that Druid is installed as a library, and as such you will not find it in the list of modules as you would usually find. You'd want to look under libraries, and when you scroll down there, you will see that there is an installation entry for HyperCrunch Druid. Now the easiest and best way to test if Druid is working is to use one of the built-in rules that got installed as sort of a default. There's only one rule that's active and installed when you install it, and it's this rule called hello Druid. So you type in hello Druid in the query string, so it's question mark hello Druid equals, and press enter, and you should see a dialog with this graphic in it. You should see this immediately, and if you don't, it means that the installation has not gone well or something's failed, and you'll have to do some troubleshooting around it. So this is a good time when you see this to go ahead and like Druid on Facebook, so that you can be notified of future releases, etc. So now let's take a look under the hood and examine how Druid actually works and how the rules are created. But before I do that, I'd like to give you a brief overview of the rule engine. So for that, let's head back over to the website, and I'm going to click on rule engine here and give you an overview of the rule engine. So as I mentioned earlier, rules are basically hierarchical, and they result in the rule engine processing that hierarchy and ultimately conducting some kind of action. So the details of that are slightly more complicated than just the rule engine processing. First of all, the rule engine has to match the rules that are provided, and for that there are a variety of match types. So the basic match types that are included are client device properties. This leverages the .NET Nuke built-in client device capability provider. There are date and time rule matches. So you can, for example, match by the time of the day of the week, the month, the year, etc. You can also match by any criteria coming in with a request. This includes such things as a query string, a form value, a cookie, a server variable, etc. You can match against page information, such as for a certain page name, perform a certain action. You can match whether the user belongs to a certain role. And these are the criteria that help the rule engine decide how it's going to process the request. Now, one of the nice things about Druid is that the built-in match types are great, but the rule match type engine is highly customizable. So you can create your own rule match type if you don't like what we have, and it's very simple to develop. You can take one of the existing rule match types and just modify it slightly, and you're off and going. Now, when a rule is matched, there's a different kind of action that can occur based on what the rule specifies. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are the four basic kinds of rule actions, such as changing the skin, changing a container, injecting a style sheet, or injecting a script. There's also the redirect request. But there are two more sophisticated rule actions which really unlock the power of Druid when properly used. And those are specifically a content modifier and a content renderer. So the content modifier I alluded to earlier, that's what allows you to essentially change the output of a .NET Nuke page. A content renderer is something completely different. What it does is, while keeping the user within the .NET Nuke page, it completely renders a new HTML page devoid of any of the output from .NET Nuke. In other words, typically .NET Nuke will render such things as the HTML header, the body element, etc. And then the skin is what is used to construct what appears inside the body element. When using a content renderer, it's a completely different story. You have to provide everything, starting with the opening doc type to the HTML element and everything within, but yet this continues to work within the URL of your .NET Nuke site. So this is how the mobile app engine is implemented for one, but it also gives you the possibility to do many creative and amazing things within .NET Nuke, leveraging the power of .NET Nuke, but without having to conform to the web form model and the standard skin module model of .NET Nuke. It really opens up many different possibilities. So that's the basics of the rule engine. Now that we've looked at that, let's go back to our .NET Nuke website where we've just installed the Druid rule engine and look at the files it's created. So I'm going to peek here into the my Windows Explorer, and of course the installer put a binary assembly into the bin folder. We'll skip that. What's more important is that Druid creates a file in your portals_default folder called druid.config. So druid.config is the configuration file for Druid. It's where your rules are stored in XML format. In this initial release, these rules have to be manually edited. So you need a notepad or similar editor to edit the file. And you also need to be able to access your server's file system in order to do that. Whether you do that by FTP or using remote desktop is immaterial. You do need to edit that file. In a future release, we will be providing a visual editor for this particular file. So this file that's installed has a bunch of rules in it, but they're all commented out, all save the one rule that we already saw in action, which was the Hello Druid rule. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and open up this file. I'm going to use Visual Studio to open it simply because I like the color coding, but it's not necessary to use Visual Studio. You can use a plain text editor like Notepad. So when you open this file, you'll see that there's a top level element called rules, and within it, the first block that you see here is really a way for you to copy and paste in the future as you edit a rule. It has all the properties, the attributes that are possible with a rule, so you can easily copy and paste them. So we'll skip by that and look at some of these sample rules. Now the first rule that we encountered is one where we typed in a query string value of Hello Druid, and you can see that's in this rule here, and the result was a dialog which displayed a page from the Druid website. Now the Druid attributes, once you get familiar with them, are fairly easy to remember and easy to work with, but initially it takes a little getting used to. By the way, the documentation for all of these attributes is on the Druid website at druid.hypercrunch.com, so you may want to keep that open as you work with these rules. So a rule is fundamentally a collection of attributes which are, namely, the important ones are a match type. What is it that you are trying to match? In this case, it's a request. And then a condition. So there are different values for conditions, such as exists, equal, greater than, less than, in list, etc. Then the next attribute is match field. what is the value that is